Welcome to AI for the Normal Guy. I'm Phil, the resident normal guy / AI enthusiast. And like every week, I'm joined by Shane Spencer, who's now a vibe coder in residence at Lovable. And Shane builds AI automation and custom software systems that modernize legacy systems for appliance repair and HVAC and other businesses as well. And also joined every week with Loren Winsler, who's a senior software engineer with over 19 years of software development experience in various languages, frameworks, and cloud environments, focusing on back-end engineering and AI engineering. Also has experience in sales, technical writing, but not smart contracts.
It's a lot of words, Phil.
It is a lot of words.
What about yourself?
I keep it short. I'm here to manage you guys. You guys are
just the normal guy.
You guys,
Phil,
you guys are the
resident
talent in
normal
the
guy.
room. I just ask the stupid questions. So we've been WhatsApping this week quite a bit, and there's a lot of talk about the use of AI in the current, for those who may have missed it, the current war with Iran. And
Wait, we're back in war in the Middle East again?
there you go. Yeah, it seems to happen on a cycle. But yes, back to war in the Middle East with Iran. Has nothing to do with oil, I would imagine. But I'll try to keep that commentary out. But there's been a lot of talk about Anthropic on a couple fronts as it relates to not only the war in Iran, but with the military and its use at the Pentagon. And just to kind of set it up, and I should have the date, but I don't. But Anthropic had an agreement when they signed their initial $200 or $300 million contract with the government that it wouldn't be used in certain circumstances. And those circumstances involved, I believe, surveillance of citizens of the United States, and I also believe for the use in weapons.
Fully autonomous weapons.
Yeah, fully autonomous weapons.
And
Mass
just,
surveillance and uncontrolled weapons.
Just to explain, for the normal guy, when they say Anthropic and Claude and so forth, it's not the same product that we use as a everyday person, is it? Like, are they logging into Claude AI and just pasting in how to invade Venezuela or something like that?
Which apparently happened, by the way.
Yeah, that's been documented. But I ask a softball question, but the answer is no. They have like an air-gapped military government version, but it is fundamentally the same models tuned to and trained on, classified documentation. But you're unlikely to get some errant classified doc thrown back at you when you're logged into Claude. But it's kind of the same thing that you're getting as a everyday consumer, but they're turning around using the air-gapped military government version. They're using it to plan battle plans and pick targets and suggest the correct process, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? I mean,
Yeah, they got
super
some
crazy.
skills.
Well, so it's to that
Advanced
point.
targeting
So
skills.
I think what I hear you saying is it's like the same tool, but the training data. And you'll have to tell me what air gap means, because I don't know what air gap
air-gap
means.
means it's not connected to the internet.
Oh, okay, got it.
Right.
The way originally they were all going to be. But yeah, so what's interesting? So it's a very similar tool, but the training data is it gets all the secret stuff, right, or all the military training data.
That's unclear whether they train it on like government data or whether they just have that data available to ingest and make decisions on. Do they really have like a private database that they're training on? I would imagine they
Maybe it's a project, a special Claude project folder.
It's crazy and it's very bizarre that so last week they threatened to, because of the disagreement related, as you were saying, Anthropic in their terms of service said we don't want it used for autonomous weaponry and targeting and so forth or surveilling American citizens, and that became a sticking point, which is a little scary that those two items they want that, right? What does that tell you, right? But it came to a head and they threatened to declare Anthropic a supply chain risk, which the last time, correct me if I'm wrong, the last time they did this was for Huawei, related to like router chips and internet, telecommunication hardware and so forth many years ago.
I don't even know if it was at this level, though.
I think they did, too. by the way, declare them as a supply chain risk.
Yeah, but it's here they're declaring a Chinese company, don't use these because use it because it could be spying and listening on your network traffic and so forth, versus a software AI provider who 1 week is managing and suggesting processes and so forth to inserting 100 special forces into Venezuela to nab the president and helping with that insertion and battle plan, and then suddenly it's a supply chain risk. Like it's like so valuable and so important that once you don't give us everything we ask for, it's now not valuable. It's like a contradiction in terms and stuff.
Right.
It's like it is so valuable that we use it on these cutting edge military applications, but at the same time, it's not valuable and it's a risk. So it's just bizarre, right?
Well,
maybe
it's
I'm not making
obviously
the words up right here.
I think what you're trying to get at is that they're punishing Anthropic for having very limited, I guess, acceptable uses, right? Or two exclusions to the use of their product. And so as a result, just on that front, on the supply chain risk front, I guess the government has been systematically not using Claude and removing it. Everybody's been ordered to remove it from their systems, and then part of the expression. But
I thought it was a 6-month period, which makes me think they're still using it. You can't just turn
I've seen both, and then you've got at the same time ChatGPT and OpenAI kind of stepped in the breach there and said, "Hey, we'll do it."
Yeah, that's a guy.
What happened?
Which spurred an unsubscribe moment, but we'll get to that after the Iran stuff. So, first,
falls right in track with it.
Yeah, Shane, what do you think of using these tools to pick targets in Iran? Because that's kind of the big topic of the week. Is there's talk that LLMs have been used to pick targets in Iran. And how is that similar to Claude, supposedly deleting somebody's database?
So, I've been diving really heavy into the idea of who's responsible with AI, where the buck stops, and the idea is should we be using AI in these kind of manners? We're going to use it in everything. Should we be doing it without human insight, or should we be a little more attentive in that? If you have AI generate a list of targets for your military, pick 1,000 targets, and 2 of them are, not accurate, and you blow all of them up. What's the companies have a rate of failure they'll release machines out in, So what's the rate of failure for AI? They're going to be so you gotta blow up some kittens to save the world or whatever. They're I don't know, it's not good. So I don't it's a finicky thing, but
well, what's crazy is when the military deploys anything. Typically what happens is it's studied. There's committees. There's processes. And I get the feeling this stuff's been moving so fast that somebody raised their hand in a room and said, "I can do that on my laptop right now. I can pick targets." And there was
no problem. Got it.
Right. And I thought there was a really good title of an article in The Nation that said, garbage in, carnage out, which is exactly kind of the point of if you get some potato head that's asking, and this applies to all AI tools and how they're used, and that is if you're asking the wrong questions, you're going to get the wrong answers, or you're going to get incomplete answers, or, so obviously that's going to happen in this scenario too, without all those typical guardrails and safety, safety measures that are typically taking place.
Well, I think it's unavoidable we're going to be using AI for military purposes. That's not going to happen. So Anthropic goes and they were involved with them. Yeah, they already are, though. But yeah, right? They're rushing headlong into it when the models aren't ready, and Anthropic was warning them. I don't know. What do you think about Anthropic even denying what was offered? Denying the government to do that, but to be involved with them in this.
I think Anthropic, and I'll take them at their word for now, because they seem to back up what they say, but they seem like they want to be a responsible player in the AI space. How much of that is regulatory capture and gives them a market advantage, and how much of it is sincere? While cynical, I want to believe they're sincere, because somebody needs to be honest. There's the, and not to pick on Jack Dorsey too much, but there's a set of people that are just all gas, no brakes. And like at Block, they gave everybody advance notice that you need to be using AI tools without a ton of direction on how they should use them. But because I think they wanted people to kind of innovate and create ideas on their own. But the result is if you weren't using those tools, a certain percentage, you're out. And like that approach in a military setting is terrifying.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's going to get crazier, I guess.
Last week we were talking about Burger King, which was everybody kind of had their own personal assistant at Burger King, Patty. And, it's easy for me to... Huh?
Did anybody make Anthropic being used to go to war in their weekly predictions last week?
No.
I don't think so.
Or targeting, I mean, I would say obviously like planning or writing reports or doing background research and that kind of thing, it would seem obvious that they would. Like selecting targets, that's insane. But so the idea is like Burger King all of a sudden says, hey, everybody who works there all the way down is going to have access to this personal agent, That doesn't seem very far-fetched for the military now. Maybe not Patty specifically, that each soldier would have
Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam, a chatbot to kind of bounce things off of. It's terrifying. So, it's terrifying in a setting where there's live fire like weapons. I mean, like in systems and processes, it's a huge organization too, and that's fine. But the idea of killing people.
You threw the killing people. I was about to say I'm going to take the other side, and then you threw the killing people in there. I'm like, maybe.
Yeah,
Loren, I start speaking and saying I'm not in favor of killing people. However, it does make sense that the military would want to have the hottest, greatest technology. They've got a lot of Silicon Valley people in the administration now. If you think about what's going on in the Middle East with rockets firing back and forth and drones and so forth, having autonomous weapons on a defense side of things, I think makes a lot of sense.
Oh, let me raise my hand on that.
It's not like what Claude is doing. Claude is a chatbot and a language model, organizing information and making decisions and writing code and so forth. It's not what it's built for. I mean, you could certainly write code in Claude, in Anthropic's tools to do, like the machine learning and vision type stuff to run a missile defense system like the Israelis have, or like they have deployed at the bases where the Patriots try to intercept these missiles, or having lasers try to intercept little drones and so forth. So one would argue that the computers can make a decision a lot faster about trying to take down this little drone that runs on a lawnmower engine that's just cruising for, 80 miles trying to hit a target based on pre-programming. And if you have to have a human sit down and figure out what to do, like, is this a target and so forth, it just makes sense to use machine learning and computer vision and so forth. But that's different than what Anthropic's providing. So if you used Anthropic to write code that did autonomous, maybe that's the beef, right? Maybe they're writing software with Claude code that does autonomous targeting, right?
That's what I'm scared of the most is the idea of little drones with let's just, in the blandest of terms to see it, a little drone with a little 6-shooter revolver on it flying around and just picking 6 people off, done. You have 10,000 of those released on the coast and you just lost perfect targeting and you lost. That's my scary military use. It's like, it's one thing like robots, that's what everyone thinks. Terminator, big robots coming around with machine gun arms and T-1000s and stuff. But really what we should be scared of are little tiny murder drones.
Sure. Hey,
you mean like the ones that Amazon and Walmart are designing to deliver packages, right?
Exactly. They're going to be like, psych,
instead of dropping a package, they drop a couple of grenades or something.
Well, that's what's funny when you start thinking about the military use of things, because just like people can use Claude now to identify out of a data set of, let's just talk randomly of, like, let's say 10,000 customers, who are the 1,000 most likely to buy a car tomorrow, based off of whatever data fed into it. And it sounds like that's what they're doing for targeting locations to bomb.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know a little bit about that. I did some research on the location that they bombed. We can get into that later, too.
Oh, the girls' school? And there's speculation. So, yeah, what we were kind of chatting about is there's speculation there was a tragic, like, war's awful, but I don't believe this happened anything like at this level, like in Afghanistan, where there was a girls' school was designated, the speculation that it was designated as a target and then bombed as such.
Yeah, allegedly.
And all the physical evidence doesn't look like it was a stray bomb or that it was accidental. I would imagine nobody wants in the U.S. military or government wants to target a girls' school, but it happened. So
what if they're using those as human shields? What's the collateral damage that's acceptable?
Yeah, again, acceptable rates.
Which is
I'm gonna get labeled the hawk here on the show, but
no.
I'm just trying to be devil's advocate here.
And that's a thing. That's a real thing. Which I haven't seen any reports that there was any allegations to that.
Yeah,
because this is first wave attack in Iran, striking military sites. In other words, and these aren't real numbers, but it would be like 900 targets were hit, and one girls' school.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it, so I'm excited for you to tell me what's going on here.
Yeah,
it was 151 children were killed in a bombing, a bomb attack.
Yeah, it was apparently next to a Revolutionary Guard naval base, whatever that is, and it was close to it, and it was a walled off, kind of. I probably looked a little basey in its own right because it was walled off from the military that was near it, or this base that was near it, or there's a nearby clinic. There's a lot of walled off areas in the area, and at least according to NPR's study, did a study on the satellite data that they could get access to, and they think something about it being outdated data that would result to poor targeting, but who knows? That's almost certainly speculation. But what is known is it got blown up, and at least 100. There's 150 killed with over 100 wounded. Beyond that is what they're currently saying. And this was day one on the bombing, so this was back on the 28th, I think. Yeah, 20.
And I don't believe, in years past, I would assume that there's some sort of human that gets handed a folder with potential targets, and they look at some images and read a report, and
give it the thumbs up.
It's a go or no go. And it sounds like this was kind of maybe just they used AI to rush it and push out a list of targets.
Yeah. Well,
and then you just turn it into a comma separated list and put it.
AI makes it faster, so. Faster to recklessly run into it, I guess, if you don't have to review each one. So the question would be did they all get reviewed by the person who was supposed to review them, or the team that was supposed to review them, or did that team go Claude's got this, and they put their faith in Claude and went you got this, buddy, boom. Those got to be good targets, because obviously the AI is smarter than I am. Unfortunately, the 10% hallucination or mistargeting rate, or who knows what it would have at that time.
So that's a good question. And Shane, you talked about this a little bit earlier, which we actually know real numbers on this. And I'm going to look it up while I ask you this question, but you had mentioned kind of the acceptable error rate in models, right? Can you expand on that a little bit?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, sure. I know that they'll they're trying to make them as accurate as they want, but I just don't know what we would consider acceptable for when we're utilizing it in certain things.
No, but I'm talking about in like just civil society. You know, what's
it's normal? Usually like 2 to 3%. You know, let's say 2 to 3%. They won't do anything about it. If your washing machine has a 2 to 3% failure rate on it, they'll still release it. You know, even knowing that. They'll be, well, that's fine. If it goes over 5%, and then like this is kind of like an industry standard from what I know, then they'll make a service bulletin and try and make a fix for it. They won't do a recall until it's over 10% failure rate. So, or probably even higher at this point. I mean, it took if any of you knew about the LG refrigerator fiasco over the last 5 years ago, all their compressors were failing. It was so bad that at least my team of like 6 at the time, they were replacing or getting out to find like 3 or 4 refrigerators a week with a bad compressor on like new machines. And nobody was coming out to repair them. And so people were without a fridge for months at a time. And there was no like reimbursement. It took until a massive lawsuit went out against LG and Sears, Kenmore, for their Kenmore branded LGs, that it became a class action suit. And then like they had to hire a team. It's big, but it didn't. And that failure rate was going on for 6 months easy before it was like, when are they going to do something about this? So.
Because I want to, and I'm trying to find it, and I may have to check back in with this next week, but...
What were you looking for?
Exactly. No, that the military, for a regular, just a regular attack on a compound going back to the old Iraq days, the last Middle East oil war, alleged oil war, they have a really high... They have to have a really high probability rate that it is indeed a hostile target.
Yeah, or they'll just call it off.
And I want to say the percentage is higher than 95, 96, 97%. I mean, like they asked somebody, is it or is it not? It's not like a 50-50 proposition. And my point is I think that typically the U.S. military wants to be very... wants to be very discriminatory on who it kills, and that they do put a lot of effort into trying to get it right. And that my concern is in the break things and go fast world of AI, like a lot of people are told this is an experimental product. Do not give it access to, don't use it for
Here's an interesting number.
Production level code. Don't use it for, live projects. And then of course there's always somebody that's willing to let's see what'll happen.
I'll read this one.
Yeah.
Big picture numbers since 9/11, over 400,000 civilians in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Pakistan have been died due to direct U.S. led war and attacks. That's from the Cost of War, which is a pretty reliable site for information, actually.
It's not Grok, that's for sure.
The total reach, yeah. I mean, it's heavy, but I don't know what that rounds into percentages. Like, I hear about strikes, we've heard about them our whole life. My whole life has been, we've been at war in the Middle East in some way. I'm 40 now, and I feel like that's always been something going on. What else is new? Yeah. Now we have AI to make it more? I don't know.
So, as you guys are chatting, I was looking at these pictures online that show the satellite images before and after. A satellite image of that school and the base they were trying to bomb next door. And in this article on NPR, the quote is outdated targeting information. But I think, it shows the before and after. It shows the school is bombed. It shows one of the buildings on the base is bombed. And then it almost looks like there's a crater where there is no building, but I could be wrong in reading on how to read this. But it looks like it hit the school and one of the buildings adjacent to the base. And we're talking about 30 or 40 yards or 30 or 40 meters away, right? It's very close. It's on the same quote-unquote city block.
But here's the thing that's... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think the opportunity for AI to get better at this is if you have, have 200 targets. And if you can augment your targeting data and say, hey, this base is right next to a girls' school, maybe you ought to double check. Like the AI can do things that the human maybe can't do. Like maybe sort this to the bottom or put it in a slightly different category. Let's use kid gloves on bombing this target because we can't miss it. So in some sense, maybe they'll learn from this and say, okay, it's not just here's the GPS targets of where we're supposed to hit. What else is around this school based on publicly available information or whatever databases we have? And maybe to reduce collateral damage, we can start incorporating that information and not just like what is the value militarily of the target? Because there's clearly, apparently, some type of base right next door to this school.
Well, the other thing, I think it goes right to that one headline of that article, which is garbage in, carnage out.
Well, they obviously had garbage targeting data. But
right,
the
and the thing that's crazy
is to have better targeting data, but also augment it with other data and say, okay, because one would think that the military is like estimating collateral damage when they bomb something.
I really count on them like having their shit together, to be honest, in the military.
It's a bad look, right? It is not what I don't think the American people want to turn on the news and hear about this military action that.
Well, not to mention the fact it's counterproductive. But the thing that concerns me is that, I could see, let's say we rewind the clock back to 2022, and you've got target analyst A who analyzes 10 targets. Now, target analyst A might be tasked with analyzing 600 targets.
1,000, easy.
Or 1,000, whereas maybe they just should have gone from 5 to 10 or 10 to 20, but people get so eager to like use these tools, and that's when mistakes happen. And the other thing, the criteria of just basing it off of location and looks seems like an incredible waste of these tools, where you were talking about cross-referencing other information, of which we must have tons.
So, but where is the line, right? Like for the military or otherwise, like when AI is deciding so fast, like we use it to help make decisions faster, but when does it become like now it's so fast and we're just like the human in the loop is literally just like, yep, go ahead, we'll kill the next, yep, send that one out, we're good, and they're not checking, validating. When I build something with AI, like validation and verification is so important as part of to build anything good. So like we still have to check this stuff. So I don't know. I think I think they crossed the line, and if this is true, if they did use Claude for this decision, somebody stepped over somewhere they shouldn't have, and maybe it was just outdated data, and that's the only problem. They should probably have done something better.
Well, I think what's missing is the normal process of like if there's a new rifle in the military, it takes 2-3 years of study for a new handgun and a competition of models, I mean, and it feels like all this stuff got skipped, like there was a lot of steps skipped and not for
Trump
good
did
reasons.
Say no regulation for his entire term with AI. So maybe that meant in the military too.
So they haven't reported on this, but one could speculate if they're choosing targets with AI that, there's this story that a U.S. Navy submarine, sank this Iranian kind of small Navy frigate ship that was returning from a kind of a war game celebration in the Indian Ocean and had no weapons on board. But is this AI like saying we know that Iran has this, that they have these military assets, where are they? Go destroy them, right? Without taking into account that in fact it's an unarmed ship.
There's probably fentanyl on it though, so
maybe
it's fine.
Yeah. Hey, can that shit.
It was shipped from Canada, right?
That's a different podcast that I would love to do, by the way.
But it makes me wonder, like, are they just not looking at the surrounding data, saying, is this a military target that we should be focused on right now? Or they're like, okay, pop the sub up and fire the torpedo, because it's right there. Let's take it out,
Right.
part of the Navy and the military is probably celebrating, and then part of the U.S. Sailing community and the ocean going community is kind of squinting their eyes a little bit, and some were saying that hey, this is a defenseless ship essentially,
which under the normal
they didn't
rules
need to sink it and then sail off, right? The Sri Lanka came back and rescued the sailors that weren't killed. So,
well, there's also normal conventions in war, and this goes back to the
that's a different podcast too. But I guess the question is
the boat attacks.
Did Claude sort this ship and say the frigate is it's on the list of like military assets? Let's go get it, right? Did it literally get thrown to the top of the list as an opportunity, and before you know it, it's on the list of strike targets, and who's close to get it, and it is what it is, right? I mean, it could.
Well, right, and to build on that though, so one is, are we circumventing normal like orders to fire processes? In other words, when the ship gets identified, does that go straight to the command center, or does it bypass the command center and go to the commander of the ship? And is it based on some algorithm that says the opportunity is going to exist for a certain percentage of time?
Well, the sub isn't floating around there and being like, "Oh, there's a ship. Should we see who it is?" And we'll take it out. They got orders to go hunt it down and get rid of it, right?
Well, my concern, I guess, is just to
Hunt
put
for Red October, right?
Right. To be specific, my concern would be automated orders.
Oh, yeah. I'm hoping that that's not the case.
Yeah, please, no.
Welcome to where the dark place I was in. Lauren's like, oh, shit.
But what I would say is if they generated lists and reports and orders and so forth, is there an order skill? We kept joking about Claude code skills.
Claude code skills. Oh. So two things. So that's one, automated orders. But the other big concern, and I think that this school conversation brings up a very important point, and that when it goes wrong, and we'll kind of finish this topic on this point of like who's responsible. And I'm concerned about people trying to avoid responsibility, but who's responsible when a target is selected based off of any other criteria, but in this case using a tool like a large language model.
Yeah. Who's
accountable? Or is anybody?
I think he's
No, I definitely the military, the U.S. government's responsible for this one. But in general, whoever launched the agent and made the decision to do that or to utilize that tool is responsible. Whoever launched the bomb, right? Whatever. But in general,
I mean, in reality, it's going to be hand or hand, private first class.
Yeah, he's responsible. Obviously, that's what's going to happen. Court martial. There we go. We're good. We got to take care of it.
No generals or colonels,
You can't handle the truth.
So,
oh man, you went there. It's so good
in there. I didn't.
Which, by the way, in 2026, by the way, that speech actually everybody arrests Tom Cruise and drags him out of the building.
Right. No, I think the chain of command in military makes it for an interesting thing because at a company, if you delete your production database, you'll probably get fired, right? And theoretically, the chain of command, if you do something wrong, theoretically, it's the guy in charge is supposed to take responsibility, right? I mean, at a company, if your IT guy deletes the production database, it's not the CTO that's taking the blame. Usually they fire
unless the CTO sends
the totem pole.
Right, but if the CTO sends a memo out saying, hey, these guidelines of you don't use that model on these live assets, don't worry about using this new model on the live assets, then shit happens, But yeah, it's always typically.
So you could argue the CTO failed to put in the guardrails to prevent that from happening.
That's the CTO's job.
Right, and then something like, they targeted the production database and bombed it with a couple.
Man, I want to be cynical so bad. So I want to say I want to be cynical so bad. I want to say, well, CTO holds 8% of the stock.
I don't know, but I would like to think that
can't fire him.
It's not the guy that pulls the trigger in the military that should be blamed. It's the one that ordered him to pull the trigger. I mean, it should be the chain of command, right? So, but if someone's just, generating kill orders with a chatbot or with a language model, sorting information and generating
See, it sounds absolutely fucking crazy when you put it like that. And that's exactly
having AI generate kill orders.
But that's exactly what's happening.
Right? I mean, they're generating targets, or they're used in targeting, right? So does that data get filtered by a human? Does someone look at the map and say, yeah, does that look right? Or, oh, wait.
That looks like a school, because there's a lot of stuff that, humans are still better at.
Make sure the targets were in the right country, and that's about all they did. So, because what's to say that the AI could hallucinate the wrong address? The zip code was wrong in the data, and they accidentally bombed Turkey instead.
Well, the other thing is, and I'm interested by the point you made, Loren, which is there's so many opportunities to do it better. But if anything, I use an analogy like AI can be a ladder to help you get better and achieve more things and extend further, or it can be a wheelchair, for the lazy. Yeah. And I think this is a perfect example of.
Well, I think AI in military applications could and should make for better decision making to some extent, because in the what do they say, the phrase that you like to use, the fog of war, they make wrong decisions, right? Where we heard that phrase recently. But does a computer that's it's sorting through information and generating reports and targeting ideas and so forth, does it suffer from the fog of war? Right?
I'm curious.
Yeah, I don't know. So I just like the idea that the AI could do a better job of war fighting than humans could do on their own.
Someday.
Right. But it's got to be augmented, right? The human has to be responsible for pulling the trigger at the end of the day.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. But what about so if we take a step back from the military, we already know, not to get political with it more than already have. It's already being used in our military, and what's nobody can predict what our current regime is going to utilize the tools for. It's going to be crazy. It's right, guys. We're just starting. Right. We got time. But when we bring it back to the normal guy side of things, when it comes to your everyday business owner or user using AI as well, what about the level of responsibility for them when they're using it? And I'll say in our instance, for my day job, we use AI to answer our phone calls after hours and during overflow. If we have too many calls coming in the office, it goes to AI. So what happens when your AI double books a customer, or you have to deal with this and you get irate people, and there are so many different methods, or sends a wrong email or compromises something within. There's so many cases, where does the blame fall in that case too, right? It's the business who's using it, right?
Well, that, and these are things that, getting back to the responsible use of these tools, that are conversations that need to be had that I think a lot of places are skipping.
Yeah,
they just figure it out after it happens, and maybe it doesn't happen when. But I think there's a lot of thought. There's a lot of thoughtless implementation in this stuff.
Yep. There was a case where some kind of airliner in Canada had basically let AI do something that messed. I forget what the exact details were, but it cost a lot of money, and they went to court for it, and they were in the end proven they were responsible in court, not the model provider. But your everyday business owner of the plumbing company down the street, if their phone service goes and does something wrong, they're going to yell at the people who sold them the service, really. So if I'm selling you AI phone service, it's probably going to fall on me in the end, and not you for using the service. It's the person delivering the service, not the model provider.
Well, and this is just a personal pet peeve that drives me freaking crazy, is I hate it when everybody names these models, Claude or Patty, or because it fundamentally misrepresents the fact that it's not a conscious thing; it's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes it a lot easier to say, blame Claude instead of blame the large language model analysis algorithm, which sounds ridiculous, but blame Claude sounds pretty easy.
Yeah, Shane, I had to look up your Air Canada case because I vaguely remember this.
Appreciate the fact checking, by the way.
No, I was curious. So, negligent misrepresentation after its AI chatbot provided incorrect information regarding bereavement fares. So, I guess the incident was where a passenger used Air Canada's AI chatbot on their website to inquire about bereavement fares for a last-minute flight. And basically, the chatbot falsely stated their policy being that passengers could apply for a refund retroactively after travel, and then sent a link to the policy, despite the fact that the actual policy didn't say that. It said that you had to apply before travel.
Ooh.
Right?
Okay.
That's a little difference.
Bereavement fares, though, right? Which is kind of one of those niche areas, right?
Well,
but
whatever. It's
and
crushing.
we should take a look at too. I don't know about you guys. I've heard like 1,000 stories of people, not stories, articles where people have tricked car dealerships in the early days of AI, AI customer service, where they've tricked car dealer AIs into these outrageous, inexpensive cars that, of course, the dealerships have to backtrack on.
So the one thing I'll add, though, this was November 2022 when the chatbot was, that was when ChatGPT 3.5, that's early days. I don't even know what Air Canada was using to run that particular chatbot, but
yeah, who knows?
So I'm sure that those mistakes don't happen now.
No, right. Wink.
No.
Audio podcast.
Nod. So
okay, you know what?
It's ancient history.
It's too much to talk about. Predictions. Let's just move on. So things to watch. Anthropic. I don't think Anthropic's killing people. I think it's being misused, just like a lot of AI things can be misused. And just like last week, we talked about the real estate agent sending out offers on homes. Lowball offers using a Claude. One of the agents. So look out. Like keep the people and keep people around so you have someone to blame. So predictions. Who wants to go first?
Not me.
I'll make a prediction.
Yes.
I think that within the next month or two, the whole Anthropic deal will blow over, and they'll make up. I think that they're too leading edge. I think the fact that they stuck to their policy, their terms of service, and so forth, I think that they'll end up looking like the winner here. And that's already, companies like Microsoft have already said, hey, we're not deleting Anthropic models from our offerings on Azure and so forth. They're still supporting Anthropic. Now, I think if you're directly in a military contractor case, like if you're literally your customer is the military, you're probably already moving to comply with the government's rules. But I think,
like if you're Lockheed and not Boeing, kind of thing,
get challenged in court and overturned, and I think Anthropic will look like the golden boy here. That's my prediction. I think it'll take 2 months.
I'll add on to that because I was talking to an uncle of mine I haven't talked to in a long time, and he is not a tech savvy person, and he now knows what Claude is. So like the amount of Claude downloads that have happened, and like people canceling their OpenAI accounts, I think they're gonna probably go even further and boon from this in the long run, because now Claude is suddenly like, it's American. They're fighting for your free speech and not letting.
But there's an E on there. Claude's French. Claude.
I like in general. Like I think the IMC and the new OpenAI model 5.4 is very good. Like it's as good as the highest Claude model, which is interesting. Might even be better. I haven't decided yet. I've got quite a bit of.
Yeah, but that's like asking if a Snickers is better than a Milky Way. I think they're so close to each other these days.
I mean, in the real world, I don't see people dumping Claude code because they might lose an opportunity to sell to the government. I have not heard any chatter to that extent. It's almost like this will blow over, this will get turned over. It's like, do we make technical decisions based on the reality TV show that's occurring in the news, or do we just keep going?
Or a tweet.
All right.
So I think in 2 months it'll be ancient history. So
I agree.
Okay, Shane, predictions.
I agree with that. No, my prediction, I'm going to go with just like I can't agree with that, right? No, my prediction is going to be, the company that cloned the direwolves. I think they're going to have their first living mammoth clone within the next month.
Wow.
That'll be fun.
Oh wow,
they're trying. So
mammoth clone meaning like
they're trying to make some kind of
tissue or like a mammoth?
Elephant, like a mammoth. They're trying to breed these like elephants with, They got dire wolves.
I would go to the zoo to see that.
That would be the implanting, I guess, of an elephant embryo into a real elephant, right?
Yes, exactly. Some kind of DNA, like because that's how they got the DNA from the old. Like that would be a whole fun episode to talk, or like section of an episode to talk about, because that was such a cool.
That's how they made Arnold Schwarzenegger in Twins.
Yeah, I'll give it a little longer out for this one so we can reference this episode in the future. I'm going to say 3 months. 3 months from now, within 3 months, we'll have a living mammoth of some kind.
I gotta log into Polymarket and see if that's something I can bet on.
Oh, for sure. I bet that is. When is the mammoth?
Goodness.
Polymarket.
Now I have to have a prediction, an AI prediction.
Woolly.
What's still coming?
I'm going to predict that there will be an early wave of layoff hype that will burn out, because it's not as easy as just saying we're going to use AI to eliminate jobs. I think it takes a lot of teams and a lot of study to figure out what practical applications people can use. So I think other than the meme use of AI to lay people off, that there's going to be a lot of brake pumping.
So you're taking the optimistic case, is what you're saying, Phil. Interesting.
In the second half of 2026, I think things will slow down.
I think it ramps up.
The jobs numbers on Friday would disagree, but we'll see. Yeah, I last time.
Well, the economy slowing is one thing. You can't blame the economy slowing on AI.
You mentioned Jack Dorsey, right? And we forgot to throw in the headline in case someone didn't read.
I love hammering on Jack Dorsey. He's so full of his own shit.
So he runs a company, Square, which is like the point of sale credit card processing company. They renamed it to Block because it's 3-dimensional. But Block, they had 2,000.
You can't see that gesture on the audio podcast.
This is not an explicit rating podcast yet. So they had 12,000 employees a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and now they have under 6. And they cut 4,000 last week. So, and pointed at their internal AI as the thing. So I think that you'll see more of those companies popping up saying, haircut. I was a guy I do contracting with for the similar company. His wife works for a big, technology and entertainment company, and they're literally told you got to use AI. And if you're not using these tools, they're software developers, it's going to be like a thing that you're graded on. Facebook, Meta, they grade people on AI use.
Yeah.
So if you're not learning to use the AI tools, you will be on the chopping block.
You will walk the plank.
So the fact that companies are out there saying, learn to use this stuff, and if you're resisting it in any way, you're putting yourself on the wrong side of history to some extent. So I think maybe in technology there'll be more job cuts, and maybe it's not like regular, normal industry type companies and so forth. Maybe it's too soon for those companies to really be adopting AI, but I know that a lot of companies are trying to figure out how to adopt AI. How can I use AI to just cancel some subscriptions that I pay? I keep hearing
I should be more specific. So I think the large announcements of thousands of employees laid off, that's what I'm talking about. As far as
I wish that were true.
Expanding, and I think as far as it goes for expanding jobs and replacing attrition, those things are toast.
I think we'll have 2 really massive layoffs that dwarf anything we've seen within the next, I'd say before the end of the year, we're going to have like some company is going to cut half their workforce out.
Let's say August. Let's check back in on the layoffs in August.
I think it's going to be massive. I think it's going to be way too big.
You know what I need to do here, just to take Phil's prediction and go really far with it. Back in the financial crisis, there was a guy that created the mortgage implodometer, which is a website that was tracking the mortgage banks as they went down. I don't know if this website still exists, but
make it unlovable tomorrow.
Make the
nice.
Exactly, make the AI implodometer. So yeah, it's still there, ml-implode.com. It looks like a site from the old days, but and it's still getting some updates. But yeah, it will show hundreds of failed lenders.
Okay.
So we need an AI thing that sucks in all these layoffs and puts them all in one place.
All right, who's doing it? Are you going to do it?
One
of you's got to do it. I got tons of stuff to build.
You're going to be really busy tomorrow, so if you'll help me, I'll try to make it unlovable.
All right.
So.
I'll send you some. I'll send you some PRDs for it, or like research for it too. You can do this too, but you should do it. Burn some lovable credits tomorrow. I think I already send you guys an invite link and everything, and you should make your accounts. Have some fun.
Right on. No, I think AI. It's like when you get fired because your productivity's down, but the truth is they just thought you were an asshole. I think AI is going to be used as an excuse.
It's a scapegoat right now, right?
Yeah,
but it's a pretty good one, right? So I think in non-technology companies, it's maybe a scapegoat.
It's plausible.
If it's a consulting company or something like that, or like a management consulting or something, and they're laying off people and they don't say it's AI, or they scapegoat it as AI, I could see. Yeah, I don't know.
You're the top sales guy, and they're like, well, we don't like your numbers. You didn't grow as much as other people.
Yep.
And it's like, really, we just don't like you.
Should have used AI to target more customers, sales customers.
Okay, right. That's it for predictions, gentlemen.
Did we hit record? I forgot.
Right? This is a very special episode of AI for the normal guy. Next week, hopefully, we could talk about like the video game conference or something, which is a whole different thing. With the shame of using AI, I think is vanishing quickly. That stigma, in some respects, in other respects, it's stronger than ever. All right. Appreciate it, guys. Next week, the three of us on AI for the normal.
Before you go, don't forget to follow or like the show so you never miss an episode. You can find AI for the Normal Guy anywhere you listen to podcasts. If you've got questions or ideas for a future episode, send them on X to AI4TNG. We'd love to hear from you.